Hey everybody, my name is Al Nicoletti. I'm an attorney here in Jacksonville. Welcome to the Al Nicoletti Show, where I bring on real estate super investors, rising rock stars, movers and shakers, and leaders of clubs in their community that educate, entertain, and inspire all things Florida real estate on how you can take your company to the next level. On my show today, I got Dustin Griffin from the Tampa, Florida area. He is a big-time REIA, Real Estate Investor Association leader in the Tampa, Florida area and in Atlanta in the Georgia area. He conquers both markets. He is influential. He is interesting, and he's dynamic when he brings people together. And this was a lot of the whole point of what the show was going to be in the beginning. And then I figured, let's just do all Florida real estate. And I'm so happy to have him on my show today because we're going to talk. We're going to go back and forth, Dustin. It's going to be a whole lot of fun because on the show, Dustin is going to talk about his motivation for jumping in the real estate game. So many people have different stories about where they came from. He's been in the game for 20 years and more, and he's going to really dive deep on how that all started and getting started in real estate and where to focus your time, energy, and efforts. So many people that are either watching this, listening to this, maybe they're seasoned for a year or two, want to know, like, how do you start? Where do you start looking? Do you start reading the Robert Kiyosaki books? Did you start going to the REIA meetings and getting all the education from everybody? Dustin is going to talk about that because he's seen all of it. He brings people in to do speaking things monthly. So he's going to do it. And Dustin's going to talk about what it's like to make serious life changes and choices after being in the business for 20 years and how Dustin is changing his real estate game and his game personally, professionally. He's going to dive in on that. Can't wait to hear that one. And how Dustin crushes the real estate game by being a dynamic, influential, and interesting REIA leader in the Florida and Georgia markets. I'm excited. I love it. So Dustin, without further ado, welcome to my show.
Hey, thanks for having me here. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I was so excited when I first met you. It was because of Tangi Cousins and saying, hey, yep, you got to meet Dustin. Dustin does this group. He has people do speaking things. He hosts that Tampa REIA group, and he would love to have you for the probate session. And I was like, I want to be there. I want to meet Dustin. I've seen you on the Facebook groups. You're a popular guy that's all over Facebook. People know you even here in Jacksonville. So that's the first time we met was being in Tampa, and I had a blast the whole time. So Dustin, for people that don't know you, tell everybody who you are, what you were doing before real estate. And of course, we can dive into the motivation to you jumping into real estate.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you asked me what I was doing for real estate, I got to go back a minute. Let's see. I've been in real estate for at least 21 years because this is 2021 now. So right around 1999 or so, I got into it. And I've been a bit of a professional college student, you know, where you just go for year after year after year and you kind of stay in for a while. I was in college for like 7 years, just so you know.
Wow.
Ended up getting 2 degrees and a minor. And I'm older than you, but back in the mid 90s is when the internet as we know it was kind of born. Remember Al Gore invented it? You might have heard that story.
I was still young then too.
Yeah, he takes credit for it. But that's kind of when I discovered the internet. So I went ahead and finished my degrees and got into I was like one of the first web developers out there at the time. And we started a web development company and did real well for ourselves during the dot-com boom, which followed. And then you probably recall the dot-com bust.
Right.
Several years later. And just wanted to transition away from that. I was finding some new passions, some new loves, and a couple of my clients were investors. And one of them was a bit of what I would call a slumlord, and the other was a mover and a shaker. And they both kind of motivated me that, hey, you need to take a look at real estate. If you're getting out of the dot-com stuff, you need to take a look at real estate. And one of them gave me Ron LeGrand's CDs. Actually, they were cassettes back then.
Oh, wow.
And I liked it so much when I got the CDs so I could listen on my Walkman. Remember the little Walkman? Yeah. So one of them got me into real estate by listening to those CDs, and I've been hooked on it ever since. And You remember, the game of Monopoly where you get a couple of houses and trade them for commercial apartment buildings and stuff? Well, that's what my buddy was doing. We were investing up in Akron, Ohio, and he would wholesale deals, ugly houses like we do, and then take all of his money that he made off those wholesale deals and put it as down payments on commercial properties. And that was his thing. He didn't care about ugly houses. He just used it as a means to get that down payment for the commercial buildings. And he's been doing it ever since. In fact, I watched him go from zero to hero in just a couple short years. I mean, literally a high school janitor in a beat up pickup truck to driving, really nice Porsches and living in one of the biggest houses in the neighborhood in just a few short years. So he kind of inspired me like, I got to take a look at this real estate investing. And I did. I've been doing it ever since. So that's kind of how I got started. My friends telling me about it. Well, I was a fairly young man at the time.
So what was your first deal? What was like, what do you remember as being?
The first deal was not a good deal. The other fella that I told you was a slumlord came to me one day, Dustin, I got this great deal. I need $8,000. And because I trusted him because he was one of my clients, blindly gave it to him and never saw that money again. I never saw that deal again. He kind of ended up screwing me. So it was my first, what we call going to a seminar, a life seminar. And a lot of people, if that hadn't been where I was in my life, a lot of people, $8,000 is a lot to lose. That could be everything they got saved up. And the lesson I learned was trust but verify, get everything in writing, secure yourself, minimize your risk, and don't give up. And I said right then, I got to get educated. Because that first deal was before the Ron LeGrand CDs. That's before my other buddy gave them to me. In fact, I might have been bitching to him about losing this money. Go, yeah, I know that guy. He does take advantage of people. I didn't know. So my first deal was a horrible deal. And I haven't had one that bad ever since. Knock on wood.
So when you first started getting into it, were you participating or getting in any community REIAs or involvement in any, were there in-person events and boot camps that you joined where I'm going to absorb all of this stuff? And maybe there are people selling for $10,000. We have this program, but if you sign up today, it's $3,000 kind of thing with real estate.
Well, yeah, because when I got into it, all that was coming to be. There was the Carlton Sheets of the world. There was the Ron LeGrand. So Robert, No Money Down existed. So things existed. And Robert Allen had started the Robert Allen Nothing Down groups, RAND, R-A-N-D, which eventually turned into REIA groups. So by the time I got started around 2099, REIA groups did exist. And we had one up in Akron at the time where I was living at the time that my buddy that gave me the CD said, hey, you got to go check it out. And I did. So that's how I started getting into the REIA game, networking, and getting further educated and knowing what was out there.
So you're best to be in this position to say this, but now looking back, hindsight being 2020, where would you advise people, recommend them to start putting their focus, time, energy, efforts, education when they're first starting out? Because we may have a lot of people watching this and listening to the podcast, which is on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, all of the great channels that we have out there. Mm-hmm. But for people that are just getting into this, they join the REIA, they come see you. They're like, hey, Dustin, first deal I'm doing or second deal I'm doing. And you've seen all of it. You've seen the Ron LeGrand programs. You've seen people come in and out of the REIA. Where would you recommend people start diving in on the education, either the books, where is that?
Well, there's a step before that I've discovered since, because all the books, all the training in the world won't help if there's something broke between your ears, right? If you have fears that you have not yet overcome. The other place is your heart. What is your passion? Why do you want to get into real estate? Is it just about the money? Because if it's just about the money, that's not enough. You need some kind of burning desire, some kind of passion that you would like to use real estate to help you get to, or maybe you just enjoy real estate. But if you're just getting started, you probably don't even know you enjoy real estate yet. But you've got to start with yourself and be ready, because you may be transitioning from a day job and being an entrepreneur is very, very, very different. And not a lot of people can make that shift. So yeah, there's some books I would recommend, but I would start with yourself and knowing what your goals are and what you want to accomplish out of life, wherever you are in your life situation at the time.
So you're thinking a lot of it is mindset, right? Being clear in your mind where your focus is.
You can be as smart as anyone, but if you don't take action because you get fears that are stopping you, what good does it do? Right?
Right. Yeah. You're
the smartest guy on the street, but you're dead broke because you're not taking action because something is stopping you.
Yeah. You got to take action to it. You have to find the path that you could be consistent at, right? You have to be able to follow through on those actions and take the initiative, get the contract, right? Bring it to closing, make the connections, get everything in line, but doing it is obviously the important part. So getting your mindset together is what I'm gathering from you.
And really, really knowing what you want. Because most people really don't know what they want. Well, I just want to make lots of money. Really? For what? I just keep asking why, till they drill down to what they truly want. Well, I want more time with my family. I want more travel. I want to, feed the needy, whatever. You got to find your why. And once you found that why, the rest will easily fall into place.
Have you found your why?
I've been struggling to refine my why. Because as I hit 50, my why started not feeling as strong, and my why is changed for sure.
So this is where we're getting into the thing about what it's like to make serious life changes and choices after being in the business for 20 years and how you're changing that perception, right? So why does the why matter? And especially after seeing it for so many years, because
it's what drives you. It's why you get out of bed each day. It's the fuel within you that burns within you. It's what attracts things into your life that you want. So if you don't know what it is, you're just kind of wandering around kind of aimlessly, right? Enjoying the walk, but never really getting to where you really want to go because you don't know where you want to go.
Right.
So whatever gets good, I guess. But I think you need a strong why. I think it really, really helps. And that's the one thing I've learned over the years.
How is it though?
Seen it with hundreds of our members and students as they kind of wander around. Some wander in, they wander out. They'll do one deal and they'll get out, or they never do any deals and they're still coming for, years later.
I guess a great question for you is do you structure your REIA classes even around bringing people that help others structure their why, their focus, and their energy, right? Like you're not just bringing people to say, hey, we do that. I see there's something going off in your mind.
Yes, but occasionally, most people come to a REIA group for real estate investor training, right? Not to, not rah, feel good, mental, spiritual, feel good, head stuff, right?
Right.
And we'll bring a speaker through and people, I don't need all that. I don't need all that. I'm like, you do. You don't even know you do. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know all the roadblocks that you've got inside you yet until they start to manifest themselves in your business. So I wish we could do more, but it's just some of those topics that aren't as sexy and exciting for a lot of people. So that's why you got to kind of do it on your own. That's why they call it self-help,
So what has it been like for you to go through these changes after being in the business for 20 years? I mean, what is that like? Like, I don't know what that's like. Okay. I can't relate to it. And people that are young like me can't relate to that. So what is it specifically that has really changed in the why? Because you're doing real estate, you're hosting the REIA things, you're getting up because you want to help people get more involved. But what has been that catalyst to that change for you? What specifically?
Well, I'm in the middle of this now, because when you hit 50, you start thinking about the other half of your life and what you want to do different, and you look back in the rearview mirror of what you've been doing and why it's not quite satisfying you as much as it used to, and try to find that new purpose, that new passion, that new goal. And that's what I'm dealing with right now. And I found it, and I'm in the infancy stages of getting all that going. So it's almost like starting over again back where I was 20 years ago, but I'm not that age anymore. I'm much older and wiser now. and I've retained everything I've learned. So I hope to apply that to this next venture and all the people I've met, such as yourself. So it's going to be the next half is going to be a fun ride. Let me tell you, the first half was great. The second half is going to be even better.
Good. That's a great perspective to have. I mean, even the fact that you were doing this for 20 years, maybe so many people changing in your lives too, right? It's not the same ones that were from before. I mean, and then me coming last year, it's like, I'm a young spring chicken coming to do this, but you've been in the game for 20 years. You've never seen somebody just pop in and do this like probate presentation, right? Like you have different people that come.
Highly recommended though. Real highly recommended.
I appreciate that.
I didn't know you. Yeah.
Right. And Tangi sees it, right? And so, but that's the connections that people are making through the REIA, through networking, through webinars. And it's just amazing that Tangi and I connected.
Yep. So once you find your passion and your why, and you start implementing it in your daily life, you attract all the people into your life that you need to help support your vision and your goal. So that's why it's very important to be part of a local REIA group and network with other folks, and so they can help you along your way.
So let's talk about that, because this is a huge part about why I have you on my show, is that you are a REIA leader. You're a REIA leader in Tampa, and you're a REIA leader in the Georgia area. I think it's Atlanta. But
yeah, we've got one in Savannah too, but COVID's kind of had it shut down for a while, and in Chattanooga as well.
But you are totally crushing the real estate game, because you are a dynamic REIA leader. When I was at the REIA event, when I was speaking, I mean, you're walking around, you're asking the questions, you're handing the microphone, you're engaging, right? Which is important. You're not just sitting in the back looking at the computer screen about how many people have actually like logged in and signed up for sponsoring. Do we have any new corporate sponsors? You're like, let's get everybody engaged. Who's got questions? Handing the microphone around, right? So you're a dynamic and interesting REIA leader, because you do have opinions. You do talk about this stuff up at the front. I mean, you were engaging with me. You're like, right, Al, this is what you got to do. People like that. And I think people really appreciate that, being a part of that kind of group. So go for it.
I was going to say, not all REIA groups are obviously created alike. I mean, some of them really do suck. And that's how I kind of got into this. We started Atlanta REIA back in 2010 when during the recession, when a lot of real estate investors had gone out of business. We kind of rushed in when others were still rushing out and leaving. And our REIA group had really gone downhill, not ours, the one I was attending had really gone downhill, lost the building to foreclosure, going through bankruptcy. I never really liked it that much to begin with. I liked the people that attended it, and I liked some of the topics and some of the speakers that came in, but the group overall, I was never really that thrilled with, because it was kind of boring. So a friend of mine said, hey, I miss getting out and hanging out with the folks. So we started a network group called Late Night Networking, and it met down in Buckhead. And we had that for a few months just to get people back together again, to see our friends again, to get things going again, to get that momentum going. And after about 6 months of having a packed house, it's called Late Night Network, because we didn't meet till like 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night.
Wow.
And it was packed. Even the old timers came out and stayed out late. They all said, hey, well, why don't you guys start a REIA group? With the other one is kind of out of business or sucks. Why don't you guys start one? So we started one back in 2010. Then I was down here on business, attending a seminar here in Tampa years ago, in I think 2011. And the person I was with said, why don't you start one here? The other one just went out of business. I'm like, why not? I love Florida. I come down here all the time.
Right.
So I've been coming down here at least once or twice a month since then. But even before then, I've been coming to Florida since I was a kid. We've done many deals down here over the years, and even in your area over in Jacksonville.
Oh yeah, where there's so much development, there's so much potential. And what's amazing about Florida, as there probably is in Georgia, is there's so much land, even in the smaller counties. And now those are becoming more relevant. People are starting to dive into those more, like the Pascos, the Hernandos, the Marions, those small counties, even over here in the Clay County, the Nassau County. So you have,
They're like, there's no more land over in Clearwater, you know, and Pinellas. I mean, you're out, they're building these little strips of land, and that's it.
That's it, right?
You got to go out further to get better deals because it's very competitive around here right now. Same way in Atlanta, it's supply and demand.
Yeah, and you have seen that morph going from it was land there in Clearwater. Now it's all built out and things are kind of going elsewhere. You know, people are moving more to Sarasota and Pasco.
Because a lot of the investors I know out there are real frustrated. Man, I can't find any good deals. I can't find any good deals. But then I have friends that are finding good deals. But a lot of the other folks have gone out further, like you said, Lakeland, Pasco, Hernando, out further where deals are plentiful. And that's kind of where the way people are kind of migrating to get better deals.
So you said you started the REIA, the Tampa REIA, in what year?
2012, I think, officially.
Wow. So that was after 08 happened. So,
yeah.
And
the other REIA group that was here had gone out of business.
Oh, interesting. So
the REIA group that was here had shut down. Not Suncoast REIA, but there was another REIA group here. There was two, and it had gone out of business. So
but
there was a hole in the market that needed a REIA group again because the other group, which I love, Suncoast, is an older, more established group. Been around for, I don't know, 30, 40 years. But it was not as exciting and as dynamic as ours, and they'll admit it. So we'd make a nice complement to that. They attracted an older crowd. We were trying to attract a younger crowd and have lots more fun. So they're still around. We're still around.
So, okay, this is great. Like how you were trying to figure out the dynamic crowds, because I mean, even in Jacksonville, you have the Jax REIA that's been around forever, eons. I mean, everybody knows it, right? It had its ups, it had its downs. Now they're doing what's really interesting about Jax REIA and why I have these REIA leaders on like you is that after a while, I think REIAs start figuring out, they're like, how do we get more membership? How do we get more interesting speakers? How do we host boot camps and get people more involved? And Jax REIA hit a snag even last year when COVID hit because they weren't the biggest fan of doing things like live webinars or Facebook Lives. They liked it in person. Like if you paid $39, $39 for the master class or the quick start class, you're going in person. There's not going to be a live webinar. But then 2020 hits and they realize they're like, we have to do go to webinar, live webinars. Even what we were doing when I came down to Tampa, which was we did a Zoom, like you set up the computer. And then, so
that was the silver lining to COVID. It taught us that we got to be more interactive. We always were. I've been doing webinars since 2000-ish when it used to be, what was it called? WebEx. And it was like $5,000 a month back then. It was crazy. I've been doing these a long, long time. And what I did on webinars was always a type of REIA group, but it was virtual. And I said, you know, if I was ever going to start a REIA group, I have to have a physical one before I go virtual. I have to have a core of people that I get to know and hang out with and then go virtual, not go virtual and not have those locations. But that was the silver lining to COVID was it taught a lot of people to be able to adapt and go online. So now, like you said, coming to a REIA group was strictly live. There was no webinar at all. But since we started back here in Tampa back in September, we started meeting again live. We continued streaming it for the folks that have pre-existing conditions or that were having to drive a long way to come to meetings, just stay home. So we got our online crowd, which is the same as it always was, or excuse me, our in-person crowd. Then we have all the online people watching from all over the country, including Georgia, the Carolinas. We got some pilot friends who watch from overseas. So it's really helped expand our base for sure.
Yeah, it you know, and you have to do all of these new things. You have to get out there more and have more webinars, have more seminars. But like even in Jacksonville, what they're doing is they have totally revamped their processes, having more trade shows, having more what they have now, a vendor palooza. They're going to have like a quarterly vendor palooza. It's crazy what they're doing, changing the stuff. So talk to us about like when you first started the REIA, the mindset was bringing the young crowd, right? Bringing the young crowd in.
The mindset back then was to help as many of my fellow Americans discover real estate investing as a way out of their rat race type job. I haven't had a real job since the early to mid 90s. I haven't had a job. I've been self-unemployed, however you want to look at it. And it's created a certain lifestyle for me that I quite enjoy, not having to report to the man or whatever. But at the same time, if this man didn't get up and do his job, he didn't get a paycheck. So you got to make that transition from employee over to entrepreneur and business owner, which not a lot of people are good at. You got to work on that. That's why I said I recommend you work on yourself before you make that leap, or at least read a few good books so you know what to expect, such as the E-Myth Revisited.
That's the second time I've heard that. That's the second time I've heard that. Somebody said that yesterday. Yeah, I had a podcast yesterday. Jesse Lane was on, and he said you have to read that book, The E-Myth. I think it was Jesse. It couldn't have been last week and somebody else. But yeah, it's funny, Dustin. Been doing this now. I think this is going to be episode 30 or 32. I don't even know. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Dustin. This was on a roll since October, letting it and just booking it. And it's funny how the same themes come from the investors and the people in the community. Like you're saying, these are great tools and avenues for people to pick up. So thanks for saying that.
Yep. So I think you were asking about, what motivated me to start it, because we'd already had our group since 2010 in Atlanta. I was loving it. And I've been coming down here and investing in Florida for years and years and years. And I love this town. I'm sitting right now here at my hotel overlooking the bay. You see Whiskey Joe's right across the way there, just enjoying life. And I wanted to help share what I had accomplished and what I've done with other people. Wanted to teach my fellow investors how to succeed and do better in life and not have to rely on a job that you may lose tomorrow. I mean, look at all the people that lost their jobs during COVID. Well, a lot of them had this as a backup, this part-time. Now they've gone full-time into the real estate game. And some come and some go. So you can't save them all. You can't help them all, but we do the best we can to help as many people as possible.
So as a real leader, as somebody that's hosting these things, how are you constantly thinking through bringing more membership in and driving new speakers in and changing the game of having more trade shows and having more seminars and boot camps? What steps are you taking? I love to hear it because we're
literally going through that process right now. Sometimes more is or less is more. Sometimes less is more. So rather, because we've always done a ton of stuff in Atlanta, because that's my home office, my home base. I mean, we had like a meeting a day, literally, sometimes multiple meetings in a day. Down here in Tampa, there's been meetings for the past 30, 40 years. I mean, there's meetings everywhere. They're not necessarily our meetings, but there's meetings everywhere. So sometimes more or less is better. So we're going to be doing less, but making sure what we do is high quality. Because people are just so inundated. I got all these meetings. When do I go out and actually do deals, right? And another thing about REIA groups, and ours is no exception, we've got so many different topics we talk about. Probates, foreclosures, subject to, wholesaling, rehabbing, commercial buildings, apartments, duplexes, Airbnbs, storage units, that young people, and I don't mean young in age necessarily, but people young to the business come in there and they just get overwhelmed. The dog chasing 6 rabbits. And that is not our goal. It's not to confuse you, but to help you find your niche. You found your niche, Al. You're the probate king. I mean, that's your niche, right?
I do it.
And you're the best at it, rather than trying to be a general practitioner and try to do everything all at once. People got to find their niche, and that's why we're there to help them find their niche. And then they can go on and get continuing education in that and focus on that. And like I said, once they found that, everything seems to fall into place, especially if they have a passion and know what they want.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about that too, because I think if you're, trying to do everything, not everything is interesting to you. You have to really find what that is that system you can buy into. You have to be able to do things. Yeah.
So back in my early investing career, and this hasn't changed much today. Back then, there weren't a lot of good REIA groups. So we had talked about way back in the early 2000s, starting REIAonline.com. That's how I was telling you about WebEx. We were doing webinars. But then I told you also, I never really had a passion for that unless I had a local group first. So we never did the whole online, REIA online thing, even though we reserved the name, 20 years ago. Now that things have kind of come full circle and COVID hit, we maybe start doing more stuff online in order to be able to serve some of those unserved communities that don't have REIA groups in their town, where the REIA groups gone out of business. Like Savannah, we haven't met since March. Chattanooga, we haven't met since March. Atlanta, we just started recently having some live in-person meetings again. Tampa, we've been meeting here since September. So in this year and in the future, we're going to be doing more online stuff to reach a broader base. Like you said, get more members, because not a lot of people want to come out right now and they're afraid they'll catch something and they just want to stay home. So rather than inundate them with too much information too often and they do nothing as a result because they get the dog chasing six rabbits, having some more focused content, I think is what we're going to do in the future, and make sure we offer more of it online and then have less in-person meetings because people are just spread too thin. And the meetings we do have, we just want to make them even more exciting, more dynamic, and more fun. So that's kind of where we are right now, is trying to make that transition.
Interesting.
And we just went through some major transitions, and we're not even out of it yet. We had COVID, get the moratoriums on foreclosure, the moratoriums on evictions, that's got extended. We went from Trump, capitalist, a real estate investor, to Biden, a career politician. We don't know what that's going to do with the economy. We're starting to see the beginnings of it. So one of your questions was, what's the next big thing? We're waiting to see. We're waiting for the other shoe to drop when all these moratoriums are lifted, and what's going to happen to the market when they quit propping it up, right? And quit paying everybody's unemployment and paying everybody's all these government loans and government checks. We'll see. So things may make a dramatic shift. We may go from a seller's market back into a buyer's market. We probably will, because it's cyclical. What goes up has got to come down, and it's probably going to be coming sooner than later. So the next couple of years will be interesting. So we got to be prepared. And by being a part of your local REIA group, being part of a network, we can all experience that and go through that and overcome that together.
Yeah, because we don't know where the market's going. It could go back into a seller's market summer of 2022. I happen to think that as soon as the interest rates start going up, that's when the buyer's market is going to hit, and sellers are going to be like, oh wait, we want to sell, and nobody wants to buy. And so then you have a shift.
Yeah, because they're like building like crazy up where I live, just building new apartments everywhere, new developments everywhere. And you remember that back prior to the last crash, they were doing the same thing. And then all of a sudden, a year goes by and you see all these PVC graveyards where they put the pipes in, the PVC's popping up out of the ground, and they're just abandoned. Not anymore.
Amazing.
So something's going to happen here with the economy soon. They're shutting down pipelines, and gas prices are going up, and COVID's back. So like I said, you don't have to do this alone. We can do this together. And that's what our group is all about.
And that's one of the reasons I'm doing what I'm doing with you right now, right? Because of everything that happened with COVID, and we not just doing an in-person thing. Yeah, I'm gonna have a studio. You're invited for that, because we'll do it in person. It'd be a great event where we could sit down, go back and forth, even dive deeper on things in the whole REO game. But it's one of the motivations I had to do what I'm doing now. I don't think if it was for COVID, I'd be doing a Zoom podcast where I'm putting it out on all the platforms. So I love what you're talking about, that you're not just being linear minded and saying, oh, we're going back, we're going to go back in person, and that's all we're doing. You're transitioning actually a little bit more out of that. And I think that is also going to increase your membership to other places in Florida, right?
Of course. Because like what we're doing right now is fun, but wouldn't it be much nicer if we're sitting on the couch doing this together live and still broadcasting it? The energy's different, the dynamic's different. And when you have like a live studio audience giving you feedback, giving you energy, it's just so much different than just a webinar where we're just sitting here talking to each other. It's a whole different dynamic, and that's what I like. And that's, like I said, the one silver lining that's come out of this is we can do both. We can do both.
You can.
Right now on my hotspot on my phone in a hotel room because I don't have a Cat 5 connection, but some of the locations we do. So it's hit or miss, but it is what it is. We're making the best of it.
But you know what? When I thought about doing all of this stuff, and I got great advice from my production team, Pablo, we were talking about how you could take this whole thing that we're doing and chop it up into little pieces, and it becomes micro content, and people just want to see, and it's just constant top of mind and different topics that are interesting because people are always looking. I mean, when I give you this file of all the content, people are always looking for that REIA meeting that's going to provide value, provide speakers. I mean, you've had people like Lee Kearney over there too. I mean, you've had big people.
Yes. Lee did a webinar with us as he had COVID. He had just got out of the hospital with COVID. In fact, when he got off the webinar with us, I think he went back to the hospital, Lee.
Wow. Dedication right there.
Yeah. He stuck to it. I mean, he goes, this is what I do. This is what gives me motivation and energy. And, I'm not going to let this slow me down any more than I have to. But you were asking earlier about, the motivation to get started. Well, all those years ago, I told you I wanted to help others. Well, over the years, I've learned, you've probably seen this yourself, not a lot of people necessarily want to help themselves. I can't want them to succeed more than they do. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So I haven't been able to help as many people as I would have liked to because they're not able to help themselves. They can't take me home with them and me do it all for them. I can't and I won't do it all for them. They've got to do the work. They've got to put in the hustle and the effort. So over the years, that's kind of worn on me a little bit. I've just been kind of disappointed that more people don't do what we do and succeed at our level. So I'm going to continue trying and helping folks do this, but I'm just going to kind of broaden my horizons about who I can help people that are needy that can't help themselves. They need some help. They need some charity is what I'm saying. So a lot of the stuff I'm going to be doing in the upcoming days, weeks, and years is going to be more charitable.
Very interesting.
Rather than simply just teaching people to invest.
And is that going to be an implemented part of the REIA, or is this just you?
I just started 2 charities, and they're in their infancy. We're talking about what we're going to do with the REIAs going forward, whether we're going to keep doing what we're doing or modify them, do a 180 and modify them heavily. And you were asking me those questions earlier. Well, those are the kind of questions we're thinking of because I've got to make room for all this new stuff in my life. And you're talking about micro content. I ain't got time for micro content, right?
Yeah.
There's enough noise out there in the world as it is. Everybody's got, wants to do webinars and podcasts and newsletters, and it's just overwhelming to a lot of folks until you find your niche. Once you find that niche, you can narrow all that noise down and focus on your task. So these charities I'm starting is going to suck up a lot of my time, and I want to be able to focus on that and not get bogged down in all the minutia. So again, leaner and meaner, leaner and more focused and better is kind of what we want to do going forward for sure.
Well, that's
kind of adapt into this new world we live in, this new normal. I hate that word, new normal. But.
It's what it's become, right? So, but it's fascinating seeing the perspective of what you are doing in Tampa and the Georgia areas, and then seeing some of what the other REIA leaders are doing here in Jacksonville, right? And then you have the Yellowbird group, which is huge. The Yellowbird is amazing, a huge young mover shaker group, and people that are there. And I love this whole community aspect. But even Jack's REIA is just changing things. So it's interesting hearing how you all are changing, how you all are morphing.
Yep. And do you know why people start a REIA group or want to step up and lead a group or teach?
Tell me.
You tell me, why did you decide to do this?
I wanted to bring people together and promote you out there so it could actually generate almost like another stream of, hey, who's Dustin? What's this Tampa REIA thing? I've never heard of him before. That's why.
And that's great. What's in it for you?
Who knows?
Why? What's in it for you?
if it's good to be connected to you even deeper, right? Where by having this, it gets you and I talking relationship wise and then business wise, right? Of what I do in the business, in the game, whether it's probate, quiet titles, the partitions, you never know. But it gets people thinking, it gets people talking about all of this stuff.
Mhm.
And maybe I'll find out deeper what that why is as I go too.
So one of the reasons is, a lot of people start a group is because they want to learn more. They want to put themselves in the middle of all the deals. They want to be in the center of the hub. They want to help influence people and be close to people. So many times the teacher, the leader is the student, the greatest student, because you get exposed to all these people like yourself that come in and speak to us every month. So not only do you get that as the leader, but you also get that as the attendees. So I've met a lot of really great people over the years that I can use in my new endeavors with these charities, which are real estate related.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, there's
So
so
I'm going
many.
to try to take what I've done in the past and then kind of repackage it and repurpose it in here now for charity.
Yeah, no, this is all amazing about what you're doing, Dustin. And this is why you have a REIA. This is why you are part of the REIA and you continue the REIA, and people love that. I love what you're doing over there. That's why I had to have you on here so you could discuss this.
So for the first 50 years, especially the past couple, decades, I've always said life is good. Life is good. No matter what it's like out there, COVID, whatever, life is still good. But now I'm saying life is freaking great. Life is great because life is what you make of it. And as long as you love what you're doing and enjoy what you're doing, life will be good, regardless of what is out there, because it is what it is. It is how you interpret what's happening. It's your perception of what's happening. So if you want to be happy, be happy. If you want to be gloom and doom and negative, that's your choice.
Right.
So
yeah, it's all what you choose. It's the life that you choose. So awesome.
It's the life you design. That's why knowing your purpose helps. It's your design. Whatever you want, you can manifest. You can create. You just got to know what it is and be specific.
Well, look at that. That's definitely going to be on one of the quote cards right there. Boom. You got that. You dropped the Dustin quote. So you made the quote
I don't know what I
card.
said, but okay.
This is all great. Dustin, so on every show that I have signature questions, and I think these apply to you, especially that you're in the real estate world. And I get different answers every time. It could be Ron has a different answer, then Pat Flynn has a different answer, but we got to get the Dustin Griffin answer about some of these signature questions.
Sure.
And so one of them being is, how are you? There's no straight answer to this one, but how do you build trust between you and not necessarily the seller, because it may not be a real estate situation, but you and building and strengthening relationships of people around you that build this amazing network in the REIA and gathering people? How do you do it?
Get to know yourself. Love yourself first. And then let that love flow through you into others. So building rapport, being kind to others, being yourself, being genuine, not talking to a seller and sound like you're reading a script. Memorize the scripts, make it your own, and just talk to people and listen to what they say. Don't be thinking about the next thing you're going to say. Listen to what they're saying so that you can come up with a solution and help them out of their problem. So it's all about people. Our business, and pretty much any business, is a communication business. How many times have you gone to the restaurant lately and just get horrible service? You call a company, can't get them on the phone, you go into voicemail jail. Like, man, can't we just talk to people anymore? We're missing that. Now we're doing all this stuff on social media. The kids don't leave the house anymore. They don't know how to talk to people anymore. You got to talk to people. So when you're talking to any other fellow human being, talk to them like they want to be talked to.
Great advice.
Give them outstanding customer service, no matter what you're doing. Just give them outstanding, because it doesn't exist much anymore. Give them outstanding customer service and be yourself.
I've noticed that with the business I'm in. If you provide them amazing customer service, people remember it, and you're rolling out, you're the white glove service that people want. You're going to call people back. You're going to email people back.
People do business with people they like, know, and trust. Like, know, and trust. And that is a process to get to like you, know you, and trust you. It may not be just one encounter, but make every encounter, count. You don't get a second chance to make that first impression. So make it good.
So another signature question I have for the show is, and this is a different answer for investors, it could change from appraisers, lenders, title companies, or it could change to mindset about how you're focusing on your deals or locking up the contract and just bringing the contract to the house. There's different answers to this, but you're in a different world as a REO leader. What do you find is one of the biggest deal killers that you come across in your industry?
One of the biggest deal killers, not following up, killing the deal before it even happens. I was telling you, a lot of our investors, I see thousands of them over the years that fail. I see I see the handfuls that succeed, the 80-20 rule, 90-10, whatever. Then I see the ones that really, really, really exceed. And a lot of people kind of give up before they start. They go out and do all this marketing, get all the leads coming in, then they're afraid to talk to people. How many times have you called an agent and they never answer, never call you back? So they kind of stop their own deal from ever happening. That's the biggest thing I see is follow up. And like I said, being willing to get out there and actually talk to people, overcoming that fear of talking to people, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of whatever, fear of saying the wrong damn thing. Just do it, right? You're not going to get every single deal anyway, but if you build that rapport, even if you screw it up, you can go back again and again and again, and they will like you and will likely maybe do deal with you.
It's what happens. That's what,
so the biggest deal killer is usually the investor themselves.
Gotcha. That's the answer right there. That's the person. You are your own worst enemy if you're not doing the steps and taking the steps to make sure you follow through and do what you got to do and listen to their needs. Active listening is important to understand what the other person is looking for.
And like I said, Tom Kroll said some quote, and I liked it. I've got it written down somewhere. But basically, you got to fix yourself first before you can help fix others and help solve others' problems. You got to solve your own issues and challenges. And I said, a lot of times it's between your ears.
There you go. Makes a lot of sense. Okay, Dustin, I had a great time with you on this show. I think those are the two best signature questions for you. We covered so much in probably about 40, 45 minutes, 50 minutes. I think we've been going on talking. Dustin, where can people find you? Where can people locate you, either on the social links, social channels, or the website for the Tampa REIA? Where can they find you, and who are you looking for to connect with you?
All right. In addition to being a REIA leader, we obviously do deals. The deals we're focusing on lately are wholesale deals and rehab deals. Well, let's get ready to change a little bit. We're going to be migrating more into the creative deals as the economy starts to shift again. So we're always looking for new deals, especially in the Atlanta market and the Tampa Bay market. We're always looking for new funders. We do all this great work, and I have never, ever, ever had to go to the bank and get a loan, ever. I've never had to go to a hard money lender to take out a loan, ever. Since the very beginning, we've always used private money. So we're always looking for new sources of private money. If maybe you want to invest, but don't want to get your hands dirty, you just want to sit back and have the mailbox money, we do all that. So if you want to fund one of our projects, let us know. I'll tell you how to get a hold of me in just a second. We've also got AtlantaREIA.com, AtlantaREIA.com. We've got TampaREIA.com. We're doing a lot of stuff online. If you're a member of either one of those organizations, you can come to all of our stuff, especially when it's online, even when it's in person too. We also have group coaching called Property Protege Group. It meets every Wednesday and every Monday. It's virtual currently, but it used to be a live meeting that we broadcast. We had a small studio audience in Atlanta that we broadcasted to all of our students around the country. So right now we're online only, but we're getting ready to meet, I think the 17th of this month, for the first time again live. And we'll see how it goes. So I can be found on Facebook at Dustin W. Griffin. Facebook.com/Dustin W. Griffin, all one word. And we're on the other, our REIA groups are on the other social media platforms as well, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, etc. So we're always looking for more deals.
And we'll make sure we have all of your social links, your social channels, the websites. I'll make sure I get with you about that so we can post it either in the Facebook pages, the Instagrams, the iTunes, the Spotify, everywhere where this episode will be. Yes.
But I'm going to give you a brief little, I'll tell you real quickly of one of the big projects I'm working on right now. And I'm saying it's big, not yet. It's going to be big. It's going to be freaking huge, like you said, huge. Not if, when I'm able to pull it off. See, I had to catch myself, almost at if. That's when we're able to pull it off. We just started a charity called housesforkids.org. Housesforkids.org. And it's going to have several related charities attached to it. But I want to make that nonprofit charity the biggest liquidator of unwanted properties in the country. The world's biggest liquidator of unwanted properties for charity. Who's the charity for? Kids with serious diseases and disabilities, cancer, birth defects, genetic disorders, kids that can't help themselves and their family doesn't have the means to help themselves. And we're going to be their biggest, hopefully the biggest fundraiser in the world to help these kids. Incredible. So instead of just helping investors, which this Houses for Kids still will, we want to also be able to help our communities even more, help kids even more. So we'll help our donors by getting rid of their unwanted properties. We can also buy them too. It doesn't have to be donated. We help our investors on the back end get more properties they don't have to go out and find themselves, right, that they can rehab. We help the local community by cleaning up all that junk, right? So we're going to be looking for donations and or purchases, because we'll buy at a discount because we're a charity, from individuals, from banks, from local communities that have all these properties on their books, these townships that are just sitting there dilapidated, and we want to get them back on their tax rolls. So there's a lot of people we can help through this charity and some of the other related charities. So it's kind of breathing, life and passion back into me again, especially when I was kind of disillusioned that so few investors actually succeed out there. So we'll be succeeding with every kid we help, with every time we help one of those guys leave the hospital and not pass away due to cancer or something, or we can, give a kid, new limbs that they didn't have before, help them ride their bike for the first time, help their families take care of them better. So I'm getting really, really excited just talking about it. I'm getting real excited.
That's amazing. That's incredible. I mean, that was a question when I first started the show, asking about like what charities and what things are you doing, and that's an amazing thing from your heart.
I'll tell you the second one, and I hope you like it. So the first one was housesforkids.org. We want to be the largest liquidator of unwanted property, unwanted real estate for the benefit of kids with serious diseases and disabilities. The second charity is related. It's a marketing charity to help raise awareness. And are you familiar with, I know you're familiar with Susan Komen?
I actually have not heard her.
Yes, you have. You just don't know it. Pink. When you think pink, what do you think?
Oh, like you mean the singer?
No. When you think the color pink, what does it remind you of, especially in October?
A breast cancer awareness.
Correct. So when you see pink, it usually symbolizes breast cancer awareness. It's in October. They call it Pinktoberfest. All the kids at school wear pink. So we're starting a new charity for children's cancer awareness, Camo for a Cure, or Camo for Kids. So when you see Camo going forward, it's going to remind you to help fight childhood cancer. So Camo will be our color instead of pink, which is breast cancer awareness. We're going to use Camo and sell Camo apparel, Camo gear, Camo products to the public.
Wow. And
take all the proceeds to help finally find a cure for cancer. And a lot of kids are surviving these days that can make it to the hospital. They can get the care they need. The death rate's way down, but there's still the ones that don't survive, that maybe don't catch it early enough, because there is no real cure yet. But a lot of kids the survival rate has increased, and we want to help even more. So Camo for a Cure is going to be the other charity. It's based here in St. Pete Beach, and I'm really excited about it. It's going to be an apparel company to raise money for kids with cancer.
Amazing. And this is all incredible for people to do, right? Like what you're doing out there. This is now your new journey, right? This is the new journey and what you're going into.
It's still related to real estate. It's still all my old friends.
Right.
We're
yeah.
we're going to have a higher calling now than just our own profit, just our own lifestyle. Just, it's going to go beyond our core group of people where we can actually change the world.
Amazing. I love what you're doing.
If you haven't noticed, with all this political BS, one half the country despises the other. And so we got to bring people back together again. So I've been struggling. How are we going to do that? How are we going to bring people together again, regardless of their political backgrounds, regardless of their religious beliefs? Kids, helping save lives. I think it's a great thing that will motivate us all and help us all come back together again and do some good in the world. So I'm very excited about it. So everything I'm touching these days, I'm trying to tie into these charities somehow so I don't get too distracted and take my eye off this ball, because I've been wanting to do this for a long time.
Kids and animals.
Yep. We're going to focus on humans first.
I get it. But
we rescue animals, just so you know. I've got 3 rescues at home right now and 3 rescue cats. Just found a home for the cat. So then we got another one we just caught, and we got to find him a home. So we rescue a lot of animals too. That's my kids' real passion, and I support that. So we'll probably be setting up a couple charities for the kids so they can decide if they want to go to college. They can decide if they want to have a day job, or they can decide if they want to be an entrepreneur and work for themselves and help animals.
Well, when I have you for the in-person podcast session that will have Dustin Griffin 2.0, I hope that by then things will even have taken off more with both of these charities that you're doing. Yep. And even talk about it more, about how it's even changing your perception about doing more, being out there more in the community and getting more people to be involved.
We're going to need a lot of help to be the biggest in the world, to be the biggest in the country, to be the biggest in the state. We're going to need a lot of help. So I'm going to be calling on all my old friends.
Amazing.
To help make this a possibility. I need as much advice and help and assistance as we can get.
Amazing.
And volunteers and money and whatever.
I know you will do it because you are the networking. You are a super connector. You know how to do it. You know how to reach out. You're dynamic. You're interesting. People know that. And you're out there always talking to everybody. So I know you're going to make it happen, Dustin. I know you will.
Going to make it happen.
Going to do it.
It's happening. We're in the infancy, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And that's what I'm going to spend the rest of my days doing and having fun doing it.
Good. Now you're at the second part of your life and you're taking off with it. So, hey, Dustin, awesome time with you. This was great. And I can't wait for you to be here in person when we do this, and we can dive even deeper on these things, talk more about this stuff, maybe break down numbers, break down things, break down and go through the charities that you're doing, wherever you're doing it, and just bring you in. And I love it. I'm so happy Tangi Cousins connected you and I for that REIA meeting. She's amazing. Yep. She's amazing what she does. She
does good work. Got a great show of her own, and we all use her leads.
Yep, a lot of people do. A lot of the investors go to the foreclosuresdaily.com. So Dustin,
I will tell her you said hello because she's going to be at the meeting tonight.
Okay, good. Yeah, make sure she knows we were doing the shout outs to her on the show.
Tonight we're doing Flip Chicks. Flip Chicks is a new group we were going to start, but COVID hit. It's a group specially for lady investors who flip houses, wholesale, fix and flip, buy and hold, whatever. We call it Flip Chicks. And it's a new group coming to Tampa real soon. And we're kind of having a beta test tonight at our meeting. We already have one of these up in Atlanta, but we're going to be doing one here too, to focus on the unique challenges women face in real estate in a male-dominated industry, especially the investor side of the industry. So
this is great. So tell us a little bit more about this. Like, how did that start? Because this is what we're kind of talking about, right? Like starting these little side groups.
I'll tell you exactly how it happened. Don and I do a live in the field broadcast called On-Site Renovation Group. We also have one here in Tampa as well with Jim Mara. We have 2 in Atlanta on the 1st and 3rd Tuesday of the month at noon. And we broadcast it live on Facebook. And do it live in front of everybody. We'll have an audience of 50 to 60 to 100 people at these houses. So we were at a house one day that this young lady had bought from New Western Acquisitions. They're here, they're there. And she said, this was a train wreck of a house. It was way too much rehab for her, in my opinion, especially being her first deal. And she was very chipper, very optimistic. Yeah, I'm going to be in and out of here in 3 months. Where it's like, no, you're not. I'm going to do this. 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 I'm like, no, you're not. So I didn't want to rain on her parade and, mansplain this to her, right? They call it mansplain. I don't want to mansplain this to her. So I didn't. I'm the host. I'm the one with the microphone and the camera. But there were other women there surrounding me, my wife being one of them, and a couple of our flip chicks, they weren't called flip chicks at the time, that pulled her aside and said, hey, honey, this ain't going to work. And guess what? That was 2 years ago. Maybe it was a year and a half ago. Her rehab is still not finished. She thought she was going to be finished in 3 months. So right then and there that day, when I saw those women go pull her aside and kind of explain things to her from a female point of view, from females that are actually doing it, I said, you know what, we need a group like this. We need a group like this where women can come together and share their ideas and share and empower one another and know that they're not out there doing this all by themselves in a man's world. So we talk about issues like dealing with contractors, working with your significant other, how to get rid of all the negativity in your life so you can focus on your passions, just all kinds of really cool topics, all the normal real estate investor stuff, but also other issues like I said, dealing with people, working with contractors, especially in that male-dominated world where they're real machismo, a lot of these contractors, and they've got to deal with that and explain things to them and not get taken advantage of. So all kinds of cool topics. And that's how it started with that girl and that bad deal.
So this is called Flip Chicks, right?
Flip Chicks of Atlanta. We got Flip Chicks of Tampa Bay coming soon.
Ooh, okay. This is what we're looking for, right? All these little avenues for people and women to go find when it comes to this stuff.
That's what I was telling you earlier. We're getting rid of some of our other groups that were okay and going to focus on certain groups that really sizzle and have the stake to back it up. So that's kind of what we're doing. So less is more.
Is the possibility of Flip Chicks going live on webinars or live streams, or is just this in-person kind of thing?
Lately, it's in Atlanta. We meet at what's called Cinco's Mexican Cantina, which is a restaurant, and it meets on a Friday night. The idea was, because the ladies voted on that, by the way. I'm like, why the hell would you want to meet on a Friday night? Because our kids don't have to go to school next day. The old man can watch the kids tonight, and I can go out and hang out with the ladies. And it's Friday night. So after the meeting, we go have some fun. Well, that was before COVID. So things have changed a little bit. So here in Tampa, I'm not sure what night it's going to be yet, but tonight's going to be kind of a taste of it with the 4-lady panel we have going on tonight.
Amazing.
So will we broadcast? It depends. It depends where we end up meeting here. If we meet in a hotel, it makes it easier. If we meet in a restaurant, it's a little more difficult. But we may have an online version of it too. So we may do one live and then one in person. But, like I said, we're trying to broadcast what we can, but not every broadcast makes a good presentation because the noise, the environment's not always as conducive for a webinar like this is, where we have no distractions.
But again, this is why it's so good having you on the show. I'm thinking, okay, all right, that's what the REIA is doing. And now you have these little subgroups that are helping others and helping get more involved with flipping, right? Because it's not just the investing, it's flipping. So I'm glad we covered that too.
Yeah. And imagine 4 aggressive lady real estate investors full of passion. You hear some good stuff, you learn some good stuff. When they get up and speak, they just catch on fire.
Right.
And by the way, this is not just for chicks. Men are welcome. Men are welcome because most of the ladies work with their significant other or work with men. So men are welcome too. It's not just for chicks, but we focus on chicks.
Cool.
We'd love to have you come check us out. And we will definitely have you there to speak for us for sure.
I'll be there. I love talking to the masses. So
You'll love it. You'll love it once we get it going.
Yeah, for sure.
We're going to be doing some cool new stuff down here this year.
You're getting it going. This is why they are blessed to have someone like you down there to lead the group, lead the event.
Another little preview. We're going to have a group down here called Synergy, SINRG, Synergy. And it's going to meet on a rooftop over in Treasure Island. And if it's raining or something, we'll meet indoors, but it's going to be a high energy networking event. Not to meet our normal investors that come hang out with us, but some more high-powered players that are in our industry. We want to bring together kind of a high-powered network of people, high dollar, high value players to come out and work with us.
Amazing. So it's like, what do you mean by the high energy part? Like, or what is it going to be?
Music, lights.
Oh, nice.
Lots
Nice.
of cocktails and appetizers. We do one in Atlanta that meets on a rooftop called Synergy, same name, but we're going to do it down here. And you asked me earlier, how do you get investors to show up to a meeting? I'll tell you something I learned a while ago. If you offer free food, the investors will show up. If you offer free booze, the agents will show up. So we got free booze and free food. So everybody shows up. So we're just trying to get the players to come back out. Players who aren't necessarily used to going to a REIA group. We're trying to have all of our REIA members show up there, but then have other people come in that they're not used to mingling with and have higher energy by the enthusiasm in the room, the lights, the rooftop, the sunset, the music playing. It's got a steady beat, just higher energy, more fun. And without a lot of expectations. No, you're not going to get a lecture or anything like that. It's just strictly high-powered networking.
Amazing. Well, great. See, the longer we've been on, the more we're finding out about what's happening even in the REIA and the group. So look at that. And two right at the end.
Like I said, less but more.
Good. Whatever works to bring out the masses and bring community together. It's what works. So Dustin,
we're going to bring people together for business and for charity.
You got it. Final word, because I can't get off my show without talking about this, but probate. What is that in the world of Dustin?
Well, we've done a number of probate deals over the years, but it's going to become a lot more important here in the near future with housesforkids.org. Because what is a probate deal? It's an unwanted piece of real estate. So that is one of the niches we're going to target for people that want to get rid of that unwanted property, have it go to a good, have a happy ending, to recycle that property and make it beautiful again, especially if it's ugly and run down, and use that property not only for the new family that lives there, but also for the kids and the charity that we support when we liquidate that piece of property. So we take that property off their hands, liquidate it to one of our investor friends. That money, that profit all goes to kids with disabilities and diseases to help cure them, transform their lives.
That's amazing. It's all tying in.
We want to spread the love through what we're already doing, real estate. And probates is probably one of the key things we'll target right away, because families get stuck with these properties in another state they don't want. They haven't been there in years. I don't want it. I don't want to take care of it. I don't want to pay the taxes. I don't want to pay the mortgage if there is one. You deal with it. Just make it go away. And that's what we want to do. All those unwanted properties, donate them, sell them. We'll take them.
Great for another cause. Right. They're distressed properties. You find that with probate. And it's amazing to go to them and say, look, we're buying the property for a good cause. And that's the thing right there.
We'll even pay for your probate.
Well, there you go.
Somebody that doesn't.
There you go.
Pay for your probate.
And you help people by doing all of this stuff, which is amazing. Yeah,
the more I think about it, I just have so many more ideas that kind of flow in of all the people we can help by coming together and making this thing happen. A lot of people, a lot of lives are going to be touched and affected in a very, very positive way. We are going to change the world. No doubt about it. One kid at a time, one house at a time, one piece of property at a time. So I'm excited.
I'm excited to see you do it. I'm excited to see it all unfold. It sounds amazing, and I know you will do it. You're an action taker. So, Dustin, I love it. It's a wrap. I loved having you on here, and I'm so glad we kept going on even after, before, we were going to get off, but you talked about these new things that are happening. The more you talk about them, the more you're learning and people can be involved. So
the more you talk about them, the more likely they are to occur, because you get other people to hear what you're saying, you get them motivated about it. And that's how you start attracting whatever it is you need into your life to get what you want.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we talked about it. Now people know.
And I'm spreading the word and talking to as many people about it as I possibly can. To say, hey, can I help? Hey, can I help? Can I do this? Yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Well, Dustin, it was a pleasure having you. I will have you here in the in-person studio. Thanks again for taking the time, being with me, talking with me. Got to even learn about the new things you're focusing on, you're doing. I'll make sure that you get this copy of the show when it does get produced and cut, and we'll make sure you get all the micro content. Even though it's all the noise out there, it still is important when you break down these topics. People see it. People see you out there. Who is Dustin? What is he doing? So, Dustin, thanks so much again for being on the show.
Thank you. And let's talk again real soon so I can get you on one of my shows.
Hey,
Get your
I'm
book
ready.
in.
I'm
Do it.
there. I'm ready for it. All right, everybody. If you want more content like this, make sure you check out the Al Nicoletti YouTube channel, the Al Nicoletti Facebook page, and now the Facebook business page where there's all this content, and iTunes, Spotify, where the Al Nicoletti Show is with each podcast and each guest I have had on, especially Dustin Griffin's when it gets released. It's incredible, all the stuff he was talking about how you can be that leader in the community, what it's like to get started in real estate, and where you need to shift your focus and energy. There's tons of content on the YouTube channel on probate, quiet title, partitions, and all the other guests and podcast shows I've had with all these people in Florida that are big movers, shakers, and club leaders in the community. There's tons of that content, but I will see you next time on the Al Nicoletti Show. Take care.